If you're drawn to dark aristocratic romance, where power is quiet, restraint is deliberate, and desire grows in silence, subscribe now. These stories aren't about men who pursue recklessly. They are about men who decide and worlds that bend to that decision. The notice is delivered at dawn. Heavy parchment. Vuxerintukt. The Duke's crest pressed deep enough to leave an impression even after it is broken. The estate is closed to all guests until further notice. No iraives. No deparches. I read it twice before I understand the second part. No deparches. The corridor outside my room is unusually still. Servants move softly, efficiently, as if this is not disruption but design. I hear gates being secured somewhere in the distance, the low groan of iron answering iron. The Duke does not summon me. That unsettles me more than if he had. I find him instead in the winter gallery, standing before tall arched windows that overlook the frost-heavy grounds. He is dressed impeccably, as always, dark coat, high collar, gloved hands folded behind his back. Old blood. Old order. Nothing about him ever looks hurried. You closed the estate, I say. Yes. You didn't tell me. I didn't need to. The calm certainty in his voice makes my pulse stutter. Am I a guest? I ask carefully. He turns then. Slowly. Completely. No, he says. The word is not unkind. It is not sharp. It is absolute. What does that make me? I ask. His gaze lingers on my face longer than necessary, as if weighing what I will understand without explanation. Protected, he replies. By midday the truth settles in. Carriages turned away at the gates. A messenger dismissed. Letters returned unopened. The estate becomes an island, cut off deliberately from the world beyond its borders. At luncheon the Duke eats across from me, unbothered by the tension knotting my shoulders. You could have told me, I say. You would have objected. I might have wanted a choice. He sets his glass down with measured care. You still have one. Doi. Yes, he says. You may stay willingly. Or you may leave when the estate reopens. And when will that be? When I am satisfied the situation no longer requires this level of control. That's not an answer. It's the only one that matters. I push back from the table. You're keeping me here. I am keeping everyone out, he corrects calmly. You are a consequence, not a prisoner. I laugh softly without humor. That sounds like something you tell yourself to sleep at night. His eyes darken, not with anger but interest. I sleep very well, he says. The days stretch differently inside a closed estate. Time slows. Silence thickens. Without guests, the house feels more intimate. Corridors echo less. Rooms feel warmer. Glances linger longer. I become acutely aware of how often the Duke is near without seeming to be. In the library. At the edge of the gallery. Standing just beyond the doorway when I pause. He never touches me. He doesn't need to. You don't usually isolate yourself like this, I say on the third evening. No, he agrees. So why now? He considers me over the rim of his glass. Because isolation clarifies things. Like what? Who belongs inside? He says. And who does not? My breath catches. And I'm inside? His gaze drops. Not to my body but to my hands folded tightly in my lap. Yes. That night, I wake to the sound of movement. Not footsteps. Not voices. Locks. I sit up in bed, heart racing, listening as iron mechanisms slide into place somewhere below. The estate sealing itself further into permanence. A knock comes at my door. Not urgent. Not hesitant. Controlled. I open it. The Duke stands there, coat already on, as if he has not slept. The outer gate has been tested, he says. Someone attempted entry. Fear curls low in my stomach. Who? Someone who does not need to know you are here. The weight of that settles over me. You should come with me, he continues. To where? My wing. The words land heavier than any command he has given before. I thought this wasn't about possession, I say quietly. It isn't, he replies. It's about proximity. And control. Yes, he says without hesitation. Meaning. I hesitate only a moment. Then I step aside and let him lead. His wing of the estate is darker. quieter, more private. The bedchamber he brings me to is vast, dominated by a four-poster bed draped in deep fabric. A fire burns low. Everything feels deliberately prepared. You'll sleep here tonight, he says. And you? I'll remain. In the room. Yes. My pulse quickens. You're not concerned what that looks like? He turns to face me fully. I am counting on it. I swallow. You won't touch me, I say. No. You won't ask me to stay longer than necessary. No. And when this is over? You may leave, he says. With my name attached to your safety. The power in that promise makes my chest tighten. I nod. Sleep does not come easily. I am aware of him even when my eyes are closed. The shift of his weight, the quiet sound of pages turning as he reads near the fire. He never approaches the bed. At some point I speak without opening my eyes. You're doing this on purpose. Yes, he says softly. To make me aware of you. Yes. Why? A pause. Because awareness precedes choice. I turn onto my side, facing him. And what if I choose wrong? His gaze meets mine across the room. Then I will still protect you, he says. I simply won't keep you. That might be the most dangerous thing he's said yet. By morning, the estate hums with quiet alertness. The threat, whatever it was, has not returned. But the Duke does not reopen the gates. Instead, he brings me tea himself. You're not behaving like a man who doubts his decision, I say. I don't doubt. Then why keep watching me like you expect me to disappear? Because people do, he replies. When they are given freedom without structure. I set the cup down. And what structure are you offering? He steps closer. Close enough that I feel the shift in the air. My presence, he says. And if I accept it? Then this becomes intentional, he replies. Not circumstance. The silence stretches. I look at him, at the control etched into every line of his posture, the restraint coiled tight beneath the surface. You closed the estate for me, I say. I closed it because I decided you would not be exposed, he corrects. That sounds like ownership. No, he says. It sounds like responsibility. I take a breath. I don't belong to you. No, he agrees. But you are under my protection. And how long does that last? He holds my gaze. As long as you choose to remain within my walls. That evening, a messenger arrives at the outer gate. The Duke receives the letter alone. When he returns, his expression is unreadable. They will try again, he says. Who? People who believe access is a right. And you. I believe access is earned. He studies me carefully. I will not force you to stay, he continues. But if you leave now, you will be unguarded. And if I stay? His gaze drops, then rises again, steady, unyielding. Then you will be mine to protect, he says. In every sense that matters. The decision settles heavy in my chest. I step closer. I'm staying, I say. Something shifts in him, not triumph, not relief. Resolution. Then the estate remains closed, he says. And so does the world. That night, we stand together at the window, watching snow begin to fall again. He does not touch me, but he stands close enough that his warmth seeps into my bones. Outside, the gates remain shut. Inside, something irrevocable has begun. And I understand now. The Duke did not keep me inside with force. He closed the world until staying felt like my idea. The estate remains sealed. Days pass marked not by calendars but by rituals. Breakfast served later. Fires lit earlier. Curtains drawn with greater care. The Duke's decision reshapes the house in ways subtle enough that no one questions them. Least of all me. I begin to notice how everything bends around his presence. Servants wait for his glance before speaking. Doors open before he reaches them. Silence follows him like a shadow that knows its place. And now that silence includes me. You've stopped asking when the gates will open, he remarks one afternoon as we walk the inner gallery. I already know the answer, I say. Yes, he agrees. You do. We stop near a window overlooking the enclosed courtyard. Snow has softened its sharp lines. The world feels distant, muted, as if the estate exists slightly apart from time. You could still leave, he says, not looking at me. And be exposed, I reply. Exposure is not always dangerous. Not for men like you, I say quietly. His gaze shifts to me then sharp, assessing. And for women like you, he asks. I hold his stare. Women who become visible to the wrong people. A pause. That, he says, is why the estate remains closed. That night I am moved again. Not ordered. Not asked. Accompanied. The Duke walks beside me through corridors that feel more private with every step, until we reach a smaller bedchamber adjacent to his own. Not his room, but close enough that the division feels intentional rather than distant. You'll sleep here now, he says. Why? Because distance invites imagination, he replies calmly. Proximity allows correction. I turn to face him fully. You speak like you're shaping me. No, he says. I'm removing interference. And what remains? He considers that. Choice, he says. Uninfluenced. The door closes behind me with a final deliberate click. I wake just before dawn. The house is quiet, but I know somehow that he is awake. Later, as I step into the corridor, I find him already there, dressed for the day, expression unreadable. You didn't knock, I say. I didn't need to, he replies. You never asked. I already know the answer, he says. That unsettles me more than force ever could. At breakfast, he sits closer than before. Not touching. Never touching. But close enough that his presence presses against my awareness like a held breath. You're being careful, I say. Yes. With me. With myself, he corrects. I glance at him. Why? Because when restraint breaks, he says, it should be deliberate. The words settle deep. By the 5th day, the outside world presses harder. Letters arrive. Requests. Questions. The Duke answers none of them. Instead, he announces dinner will be served privately. Just us. The long table is abandoned in favor of a smaller one near the fire. The intimacy feels intentional, measured. You're altering routines, I observe. Yes. For how long? He sets his glass down. For as long as you remain undecided. I thought I decided when I stayed. You decided to remain protected, he says. Not to be seen. And you're offering visibility? I'm offering definition. My breath catches. To whom? To everyone, he says calmly. Including you. Silence stretches between us, thick and charged. You would let them believe I'm yours, I say. I would not correct them, he replies. And if I object? Then I will open the gates tomorrow. The power of that choice presses hard against my chest. I look at him. At the man who closed the world with a sentence, who has not touched me once, who watches with a patience that borders on dangerous. And if I don't object? I ask. Then nothing changes, he says. Except how you are treated. And how is that? As untouchable, he replies. By anyone but me. The fire crackles. I nod once. Let them believe it, I say. Something in his gaze shifts. Not triumph, not possession. Acceptance. That night, I stand beside him at the balcony overlooking the sealed gates. They won't try again, I say. No, he agrees. They won't. Because of you. Yes. And because of me? He turns slightly. Because you chose visibility over freedom, he says. That is never accidental. The cold air bites, but I don't step away. You're not gentle, I say softly. No. But you are careful. Yes. And this. I gesture vaguely to the estate, the silence, the world held at bay. This, he says, is me being careful. I understand then. Not because he explains it, but because he doesn't. I rest my hand lightly on the stone railing between us. He does not touch it. He does not need to. The gates remain closed. The world remains outside. And inside, I am no longer simply staying. I am choosing.